Okay, so I'm not super ready to do this particular stream, but that's okay because I had a conversation with a friend recently and it made me think of this conversation around mindset. So I'm like, let's talk about mindset for today, right? I talked to a bunch of people and you see I'm dressed down. It is -8 degrees outside, okay? So I am comfy and cozy for good reason. Today, we're talking about mindset. It's quickly becoming the new buzzword. I keep hearing it over and over and over. And it seems like people just love to talk about like the power of positive thinking, right? Or this idea of having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So, we're going to talk today about what does this all really mean and why do we care? Okay. So, what really came first? There's this controversy about did do thoughts provoke feelings or do feelings provoke thoughts? I subscribe to the thinking of I think that we think about a thing first and it produces a feeling in us, and that feeling generates an action on our part. Okay, so if I'm, I don't know, let's see, if I'm seeing, if I apply for a job and I didn't get it, and the thought that I have for myself is, ooh, there's a better job for me out there, I might feel like hopeful or excited, and then I might go apply for other jobs or go into my next interview very confidently, right? But if instead I think to myself, um, I'm no good, they don't want me, this is so hard, nobody's gonna want me, then the feelings that I have might be something like defeat, frustration. And then what actions would I take feeling defeated and frustrated? Does that make sense? And so, really, it's not about what's happening in front of us, it's about our mindset about what's happening. And this is the conversation like the chicken and the egg, right? It doesn't matter. It's just about, it's not about what happened. It's about how we interpret it, how we experience it, what we believe about it, how we see it. There's very few things that are black and white in this world. We're human beings. And so much is up for interpretation. Somebody says one thing to you and we're interpreting it. That's how our brains work. We're always interpreting all the time. And what we interpret becomes our reality, not what's actually happening in front of us, but how we perceive what's happening in front of us. And so this is where mindset comes in and why it's so critical to everything that we want in life. If we want to be a good parent, if we want to become a CEO, if we want to become an entrepreneur, if we want to buy a home, if we want, to be a serial traveler, it doesn't matter. Whatever we want, our mindset is the bridge to get us there. Whatever we want, our mindset is the bridge to get us there. It is the single most important thing about us that will determine our success. The single most important thing. And if we can get powerful control over our own mindset, then we can powerfully control what we create for our lives, right? The life that we create for ourselves becomes something that we birthed, you know? It's crazy. It's really powerful. Oh, let me turn my phone off because it keeps vibrating and I don't want you all to pick up the vibrations. All right, here we go. So let's see. Let's define mindset first. So it's a set of beliefs that you hold. It's very simple. Your mindset is what you believe. Mindset is the set of beliefs that you hold. And if what you're thinking drives your feelings and your feelings drive what you do or your behavior or how you show up, then those feelings, those actions and behaviors are what separate those who achieve their dreams and those who do not, right? It's just like one thing. So I'm thinking about a bunch of people. Oh, I have some quotes here, like Will Smith. Will Smith once said, "If you want something, go get it, period." That's the quote. If you want something, go get it, period. That's all about mindset. He didn't say determine if it's hard or if it's possible. He said, go get it. Make a decision in your mind that you're going to get that thing, right? Let's look at Steph Curry. He says, success is not an accident, success is a choice. I create my success. That's a mindset, right? And then we talk about, Malala. If you don't know who Malala is, please go look her up. But she said, if one man can destroy everything, why can't one girl change it? It's a dope quote, right? And it's all about mindset. It's that I believe I can do the thing. And so therefore I can do the thing. Now, all this stuff I'm telling you is nothing new, right? We fundamentally, instinctively know these things about ourselves. And so let's talk real tangibly right now. What are the three biggest influencers of mindset? I have a thought on this. The three biggest influencers on mindset are self talk, your circle, and your relationship with failure. So let's talk about the first one, self talk. This is so powerful. We hear everything we say to ourselves, people. We hear everything we say to ourselves. We really do. And so the power of whatever it is that you're thinking is the single most predictor of your outcome, of your own success. All right. So in my earlier example, I was talking about like getting a job or not getting a job, but let's talk about something that's kind of more tangible and real. Let's say you're already in a role and you have hopes to be in a higher role wherever you are, let's say at work or I don't know, in life and even in your social statuses, right? That you hope to be in a different place. What you are telling yourself about where you are and where you want to be is everything. If you are telling yourself that it can be, then at least you create the possibility that it can be. Whether you get it or not is not promised. Just because I believe I can have a thing doesn't mean I'm going to get the thing. But if I don't believe it, I'm definitely not, because then I won't do the things that are necessary to get me that thing. I'm gonna give you all an example. It's kind of a weird example, but it's still a self-talk example. Recently, I went on a trip to celebrate my birthday, and I left out the house a little bit late because the Lyft driver could not find my front door. And so I spent 18 minutes trying to navigate this man to my front door, which lost me 18 minutes of trying to get to the airport to catch my flight. And so now I'm doing the math and I'm like, I'm not going to get there in time because you have to check your bags in 45 minutes before the flight takes off in order to guarantee your bags will make it. And I am in arms. My guy calls me and he's like, yo, what's going on? What can you do? This and that. And I'm like, you're not helping. You're not helping. I don't even want to be on the phone right now. Like I'm separating myself from people that actually care about me because I'm so much in my mind caught up on the negativity of my situation. Now, my situation hasn't changed. I'm in the Lyft car now and I'm heading to the airport and there's nothing I can control. I'm not driving. I'm not the controller of time. I'm not flying the plane. I don't know what the security line is. There's literally nothing else that's in my control. The only thing I could control is getting my butt in the backseat of the Lyft car. And that's where I was. And so I'm just in this tizzy. I'm stressed out and I'm communicating like I'm really stressed out right now. I might not get there on time. I don't know if I'm going to make this flight, this and that. All of those thoughts create more stress. Does that make sense? I'm stressed out, creates stress. I might not make the flight, creates fear, anxiety, stress, angst. Then I came to a point where I was like, what am I doing? Let me just take some deep breaths. And I took some deep breaths. And I said, I'm going to shift my thinking because I can't control anything else except my thoughts right now. My energy is the only thing I have control over. And so instead of saying I'm not going to make this flight, I said something that was equally true and also believable, which was the worst case scenario is, based on the math, is that my bags won't make it. The likelihood of me actually missing this flight is very slim, though. It's very likely I will be in sunny Florida very soon. And I was like, okay. And if I do not get my bags there when I get there, the airline will get the bags there. They usually get them there within hours or at worst, like within 24 hours, right? So, like, what's the worst case? What am I really stressing out about here? I have controlled everything I possibly can up until this moment. And now I release it. I release it. And I sit in the fact that I've done everything that I can. Do you know all of the stress poured out of my body at that moment? Now, nothing had changed except my thinking and my energy. I cannot get back. Once it's spent, it's spent. But I can reclaim my mind, which can reclaim my energy. Make sense? And so that self talk is a practice. Like me being able to do that in that moment in that car is because I'm practiced at it. It doesn't mean that I'm immune to stress. I get stressed just like you. I get pissed off just like you. But I have the tools that I need to get myself back to where I need to be when humanity overtakes me, you know? So let's go to number two. Number two is your circle. I think you probably know what I'm going to say, but basically this whole idea of the company you keep, right? The company you keep. So just look at your life, right? Let's lay out your circle. If you have a piece of paper nearby, grab a sheet of paper and get a pen and write down who's in your circle. Some of you will have 3 names, some of you will have 10 to 20 names. Just write them all down. Take a look at that circle and decide for yourself, is that circle going where you're going? Does that circle believe in you and where you want to go? Does that circle even know your heart's desire? Do you feel comfortable sharing with that circle? Put people in a different circle that meet all the criteria. So take their name out of the big list and move their name into the yes list if they meet all those things that I just said. When you are down, are those people there lifting you up, helping? Do they show up when it's dirty and messy and when you're not put together? Do you let them in to those dirty, messy, not put together places? If you are the most put together person in your circle group, you ain't in the right circle. If you are the most put together person in your circle group, then you're not challenging yourself. Don't be the most put together person in your group. Get in groups where you have something to strive for. There are people in that group that are doing things that you're not doing yet that you might be interested in doing. And it can be as specific or as vague as you want that to be. But closely analyze your circle because people will say things like, oh, well, that person is that way and that's my friend, but I'm not that way. Please understand, your friend's drama when they're in your circle becomes your drama, whether you're directly involved with it or not. If your friend is constantly like reliving life's same mistakes over and over and over and over, that person is probably not getting to be a part of your inner circle. It doesn't mean you can't be friends with that individual. Check your circle and be intentional. Maybe you keep that person in the friend circle that goes over here, and maybe you create another circle that's my I'm going places circle. And be very intentional about who you invite in. Bring people in that bring something to you that you can give to and you can get from. It should always be reciprocal relationships. Hence, it's called a circle. Okay? Giving and getting on both sides all the time, continuously. Sometimes this person will be giving more during one season and the other person will be giving less, but check your circle. And if your circle doesn't look the way you want it to, then create a circle that does. Because the people that are around you, the things that they're talking, the energy that they bring, you can pretend that it doesn't influence you, but it does, you all. We are not superheroes with armor. We don't have those Wonder Woman bracelets that go ting, 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 and everything just deflects off of it. We absorb the energy that we let into our circles. Some of us are better at it than others, but that energy is still there. And so, check your circle and create the circle that you want. Okay. Next one, the third biggest influencer for mindset is your relationship with failure. So think back over your life and think about like maybe the biggest failures that you've had, maybe the biggest challenges that you didn't really come out on top like you wanted to with. What's another way to think about it? Because some people have a hard time with the word failure. So I want to say it in a way that you can identify with it, right? Um, when you didn't get something that you really worked hard for or wanted, think to that moment when you thought things would go a certain way, but they went a drastically different direction. Think about those moments. How did you handle them? How did you handle them when they actually happened? And then what was the result in the end? Because sometimes we don't react great up front, but we get there. You know what I mean? Sometimes we act great up front, but in our minds, we're not there. So we do the right things and pretend, you know what I mean, just to move through the situation, but we actually hang on to it much longer because we never processed our actual emotions around it. If that makes sense. But just reflect on how you handle failure. What is your relationship to failure? A lot of people like to say, well, I don't like to fail or I'm scared of failure. But that's not the group I'm talking to right now. I'm talking to the group that says, oh, I don't mind failure. I don't fail. I just learn. That's great. That's where we want to be. And that is the mindset that will get you closer to success. But what I have found in my coaching is that people often say that, but they're not great at living that out for themselves. Failure is a powerful thing. And when you look over your life and you see how you've actually been responding to it in the past, that's when you get the truth of what your relationship is with failure. If failure produces a lot of negative self talk for you that is hard to shake, it sticks with you for a while, then you have an opportunity to grow in your relationship with failure. Failure doesn't feel good. And people that say, "Oh, I don't mind failure. I just move through it." It's not honest. It's not honest at all. Failure doesn't feel good. It feels pretty effed up sometimes. And sometimes it takes a minute to bounce back from failure. So the issue is not that it feels good. The issue is not that you have negative self-talk. The issue is your awareness around it and you're connecting that self-talk to the action of the failing. When I fail, I think these thoughts about myself. Those thoughts make me feel this way. And then I show up in the world in this way. Or I do these things, or I say these things. You know what I'm saying? Find those connections for yourself. And so, if you have your piece of paper, here's what you do to track your relationship with failure. Take a moment that was really, really, really hard and difficult for you. Write the moment down. Try to think back. What was your self talk in that moment? Like when you were living in it and while it was happening, not after the fact looking back. Try to relive it and write down some thoughts that you said to yourself. Okay, so write those down. Then I want you to look at those thoughts, say them to yourself, and write down how they make you feel. What feelings come up for you. Now, be careful because this is the part of the exercise that people notoriously fail because as adults, we weren't taught really well about feelings words. And so you want to make sure that when you write down how you feel, that it's actually a feeling, not a thought, right? So how you feel, I felt like I didn't know what to do. That's not a feeling. If you didn't know what to do, then the feeling might be hopelessness or confusion. Those are feelings. Does that make sense? So hopefully that connects with you. So just watch for yourself to do that. Then you write down the feelings, and then you're going to write down what actions did you take after that failure? What actions did you take? Now, it might be over time. My first action was I broke up with this person. Or, my second action was that I read a book. Or like it might be multiple things. Write down all the things that you did as a result of that failure, like as a direct response to that failure. Okay, now when you're done that, you're going to take a whole separate sheet of paper, redo the same process in the way that you want to do it for next time. So let's say that same failure happened again. Write it down. Here's the failure. Here's what I want my self talk to be when this failure happens. Here are the feelings that self talk produces. And here's what I'm going to do when I show up feeling this way. Here's how I react. Here's how I show up in the world. Does that make sense? So you got like 4 steps for each time. It is a practice. And you shifting your relationship with failure and challenging your current relationship with failure. So for those of you who are like, no, I'm good with failure. I don't feel like that's what's throwing me off. I used to think that as well. And what I used to say to my therapist is, I'm not scared of failure. I'm scared of success. That's what I used to tell her. And through some work and some honest soul searching and digging, and she pushes me and challenges me, we discovered that actually I do have a fear of failure, and it's a pretty big one. And it is masked by me calling it a fear of success. So I'm not saying that's true for you. I'm just sharing, my heart and what happened to me. And it could be true for a lot of us. Showing up in the world as a strong Black woman or a strong woman, or especially a Black female leader, we're not afforded a lot of space for making mistakes. There are other groups that are given more grace than us, not us. There are so many groups that bounce back, and there are groups that we support that are coming back. But sometimes the support for us is limited, it's lacking. And so being able to soul search in a raw way where you can just tell the truth on yourself might feel uncomfortable because maybe you don't get to do this very often. But that's why we got this podcast. So sit down, have a seat with me, and dig in. It's just me and you. What's the worst that can happen? Be real, be honest with yourself. Tell the truth. Get rid of that ego. Shed it. Shed it. And get down to who you are and how you handle failure. Whatever's true for you. Write it out and decide how you feel about that. All right, so 3 things: self-talk, your circle, and your relationship with failure. And take a look at, just evaluate yourself without judgment. Not, oh man, I suck at this. Oh, I do. Don't judge yourself. Just look at it and decide, how do I feel about this? I think I'm okay with this section. I don't like this right here. My circle is looking pretty raggedy for what I say I want to do. I don't like this. I think I might want to change that. That's where we are right now. Look at it, decide how you feel about it, and decide what you want to do about it. Challenge your mindset. If you can get these 3 things in alignment: self-talk, your circle, and your relationship with failure, you can challenge your mindset and shift your thinking into a way that actually supports what you say you want to do and who you say you are. All right. So hopefully you enjoyed the conversation about mindset. It is a thing. And it's also a thing like in the workforce, right? People's mindsets. When you're hiring someone, the harder thing for you to shift is their mindset. And so that's why this whole idea of hiring people with a growth mindset is such a thing. It's a buzzword, it's a buzz phrase, but it doesn't have to be just some word we throw about. Let's hold on to this mindset thing and be thinking about it like really intentionally, maybe for the rest of this week, and just see where you land. Notice the things that shift, notice the things you start noticing about yourself. You can't change anything you don't notice, you don't acknowledge, that you don't say or name, right? So just start at the naming and the noticing, right? Don't worry about taking all these actions and, going from a negative self-talk to a positive self-talk overnight. Just start noticing about yourself and your mindset and where you really are and how you feel about that. And then we start talking about, what you want to do. And honestly, it's just a practice. So all the things that I've been talking about, just start practicing them and they become easier and easier and easier and easier. All right, so you want to talk more about mindset? Let me know. If you have other ideas or thoughts, if you disagree with something that I said, go ahead and type it into the comments. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, Lana Halamariam. I'm the only one Lana Hallamariam. And also, you can check me out or get connected through my website, lanahallamariam.com. All of these lives, all of these videos, and all of our podcasts are also linked through my website, lanahallamariam.com. So thanks for joining us. Us is me and you on Have a Seat with me, Lana Hallamariam. I'll see you next time.